Hey, it's Dave from Bullpen Cycles, and today we are working, not on you, Bruno, we are working on our 1983 Norton Interpol. Now you might remember this bike. It's a civilianized Interpol 2, which is a Norton Wankel that was built and offered only in England to their English police. This one has been decommissioned and civilianized, and ultimately it ended up here through Mecum. Ooh, anyway. I decided that it was too ugly. It looked too much like an 80s Kawasaki. So I am going to attempt to make it more sporty. And I gave it the Johnny Player special touch. Well, what do you think? Did I accomplish it? I didn't want it to look like an 80s Kawasaki. What is it? Well, it's a Norton Interpol 2, which is a twin rotor Wankel air-cooled engine developed by Norton for the English police. And by the way, I got this bike at Mecum. And well, speaking of Mecum, I know you're all gonna wonder what happened since my last video. Sorry, I got a freshly charged battery. I can't hit the starter button because I can't turn the key on, because I don't have the right key, because the ignition's not hooked up, because the engine doesn't turn over. I don't know if it has compression. I can't kick it over. Here's something interesting. It says here on the disclosure, 903 inline 4-cylinder, does run, yes, has keys, yes. So the seller represented to Mecum that this was a running bike, even though it has no ignition, doesn't turn over, starter's locked up, and gosh knows what else. Oh, and has a key. Well, it has the wrong key. There's no key on this bike. Let me tell you what happened since posting that video. That day, I think it was the very same day, and I got a call from Greg, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought maybe I'd get a cease and desist, a talking to, a call from a lawyer. I didn't get any of that. Greg says, I saw your video, I watched the whole thing, we're gonna buy the bike back. And I think he said that's, you know, BS. If he didn't use the term beep beep, it was something close. He says, the guy said that bike ran, it obviously doesn't run, we're buying the bike back. And that was it. It wasn't, oh, and by the way, can you take the video down? It wasn't, oh, we'll help you, we'll talk to the seller. It wasn't any of that. It was, that was bull beep, and we're unwinding it, we'll buy the bike back, we'll send someone to pick it up. And frankly, that was more than I expected. I thought maybe they'd call me up and put some pressure on the seller, and I'd have to negotiate with the seller. They said no, they'll make the seller take the bike back. So I'm guessing there's some contractual language between Mecum and a seller. I've never sold through Mecum, but I'm guessing that if their seller is misrepresenting bikes, Mecum has some recourse. But anyway, the bike's going. So some of you are probably wondering what happened to the video. Well, I took it down. I marked it private. I'm not going to post it on YouTube. My goal there was to share a cautionary tale. Well, with due diligence, you can figure out who that seller was. I don't need to out him. Mecum's going to have their recourse. I expect he may or may not be able to sell, but he's at least on double probation if he's allowed at all. So we've taken care of that. I'd like to respond to some of the comments. Those, particularly those that think I'm 100% at fault, or those that say I should go over everything before I commit to buying the bike, especially a bike that you're spending that much money on. Both of you are right to an extent, but I look at these bikes a little differently because, well, because I'm kind of a motorcycle dealer and I'm familiar and equipped to handle most of the things that might arise, bearing a major catastrophe, which is what this was. So if I was buying just one bike and it was my dream bike, or if I was dumping 6 figures on like a Vincent Black Shadow, you're right, I'd be going over it all fine tooth and comb. But when I shop at Mecum, I'm doing it a little different. I'm not shopping for a specific bike, but I'm looking to play a little bit of arbitrage. When I see a bike roll in and I think it's not being bid up to its potential retail value, depending on what that gap is, and I assign a risk premium, and if that gap is big enough and it covers the risk premium and there's still a little bit more room, maybe some meat left on it for me to mitigate some of the deficiencies, I might bite. So I look at a bike. Is it presentable? Does it have a title? Does it run? Is it stock? What are the obvious defects? If I get a chance to look at it. If I don't, I might knock $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 off of retail, knowing that I'm going to have to put some money into it. But that presupposes the seller is at least telling the truth when he says the bike runs. Now, yeah, there's some truth to buyer beware, but there are exceptions to that. If you're a seller and you're purposely hiding material defects, covering them up so that they aren't easily discovered, that's one of the exceptions, because that's a fraud, and that's both a civil and can be a criminal thing. And also, if you're a licensed dealer like I am, like this seller is, you're subject to licensing regulations and consumer protection laws. So you can't be doing that stuff. And yeah, it's buyer beware to an extent. And there's a lot of puffing that goes on. I might say this is shiny and you might think it's dull. None of that stuff is enforceable. If I tell you a bike runs, and it's not even close to running, in fact, running was an impossibility, yeah, that's where I was coming from. So anyway, I took the video down. There's going to be a resolution. Mecum is buying the bike back, and they're putting it on the seller. In this case, Mecum stepped up, and I appreciate that. I wanted to pass that note and give you the follow-up. We've got more swap meets and other bikes coming up. And thank you for all your support and all your well wishes.